Welcome to another episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Jimmy the Stand. What's up, man?
What's up, Staxx? How are you, bro?
Did I butcher your last name, man? Stanza?
Osenza.
Yeah. I didn't butcher it too bad, man.
Oh, that's okay.
How are you, man?
I'm doing good, Staxx. How are you today?
I'm great.
I'm a big fan of the show, man, and it's a big honor for me to meet you and do the interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely, man. You have a really interesting background in some of the things you've done. A lot of people don't do things like that, and you sat through some pretty major trials throughout the well, first, before we get into that, everybody out there, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. So before we get into all that stuff, give me a little background about where you're from and what it was like growing up where you're from. You grew up in Chicago, right?
Yeah, born and raised in Chicago. I'm a true Chicagoan. I love my city. I grew up in the southwest suburbs of Chicago near Midway Airport. And then shortly after college, I moved downtown, and I've been living in the Grand Avenue neighborhood, let's say, since the mid-'90s. I didn't grow up in the Grand Avenue neighborhood, but I lived there since the 90s. I currently live there now. And as all your viewers know, a lot of the outfit guys were born and raised in the Grand Avenue area. So I know the history and I hear all the stories. After college, I started attending some federal trials downtown Chicago, some of the biggest trials in Chicago at the Dirksen Federal Building. And what's interesting is what a lot of people don't know, Staxx, trials are open to the public. Anybody can go. And my very first trial, I'll never forget it. It was the United States versus Gus Alex. Some of your viewers may know who Gus Alex is. Some of them may not, but he was a very high-ranking associate of the Chicago mob, a member of the Al Capone gang, basically right under Tony Accardo. Gus Alex was Greek, so he wasn't a made guy of the outfit, but he held a very powerful position. He basically controlled all the politicians and all the policemen in Chicago. He got indicted, and there he is right there. And that's a picture of him as an older gentleman during his trial. He was basically part of a violent extortion crew. He wasn't part of the extortion, but allegedly he was receiving kickback from Lenny Patrick and his crew. Lenny Patrick, one of the worst men you'll ever meet in your life, he testified against Gus Alex and helped the government put him away. That's a picture there of Gus Alex meeting Sam Carlisi, another heavyweight in the Chicago outfit.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch, man. You said Lenny Patrick?
Lenny Patrick controlled all the gambling in Rogers Park, which is a Jewish neighborhood in Chicago.
Yeah.
He testified he robbed over 100 banks and killed over 20 people. One of the worst men I've ever laid eyes on, and I seen him in court. Gus Alex underestimated the prosecution. Gus Alex and his team, they felt nobody would find Lenny Patrick credible.
Yeah.
But Lenny Patrick knew Gus Alex for over 40 years. So he had a lot of detail. One interesting thing about the Gus Alex trial that I enjoyed, they used the doctors as go-betweens. So Gus Alex would go for a doctor's visit, right?
Yeah.
He would go for a checkup, and he would give messages to the doctor to relay to Lenny Patrick. When Lenny Patrick went to the doctor for a checkup, he would give messages to the doctor to give back to Gus Alex. So the prosecution in that case, they called the doctors into court to testify that they were indeed passing messengers between the two.
And they knew what the messages were too, right? Did they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not
So
only messages, but bags of cash as well.
wow, yeah. So there's a lot, man. There's a lot to go over, and I have pictures of all kinds of stuff, like stashes that they had of money, some of the jewelry that Frank had.
Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of stuff, man. So I want to talk a little bit about the trial when Tony Accardo's house got broken into. The mob boss's house gets broken into. People don't know the story. Do you want to explain a little bit about that
Yeah,
situation?
really quick. As some of your viewers already know, many years ago, a famous jeweler in Chicago, his jewelry store got robbed. He was also a good friend of Tony Accardo. So he went to Tony Accardo, boss of the Chicago outfit at the time, and he basically told him, hey, my jewelry store was robbed and very, very precious, very valuable jewels were stolen. So Tony Accardo, being a good friend to the jeweler, he reached out to Tony Spilotro and some of the other guys, and they wanted to find out, hey, who pulled this burglary off? When they found out the crew that did it, Tony Accardo demanded that they return all the jewels and valuables. So the crew, they put a lot of time and planning into robbing this jewelry store. So they were livid. They were upset that they had to return the jewels. So they did return the jewels to Accardo. Fast forward, Tony Accardo is on vacation at his summer home in Palm Springs, California. This crew decided to rob Tony Accardo's house to get the jewels back.
Oh, after they already gave him back.
Yes.
That's how it happened.
So what happened? How this is linked to the Family Secrets trial. First of all, the Family Secrets trial was 18 unsolved murders dating back to the 70s. And several of the 18 murders were some of these burglars that robbed Tony Accardo's house.
Yeah, so
here's a picture of some of the defendants. You can see Joey Lombardo there in the glasses. Frank Calabrese with the beard. Little Jimmy Marcello, the bald guy. In the back, the guy in the left was Anthony Twan. His nickname was Doyle, corrupt Chicago police officer. And the guy to the right, I think, was this guy they called the Indian, Paulie Shiro. These were 5 of the defendants. But back to Tony Accardo's house. Tony Accardo's houseman, butler, called him in Palm Springs and basically said, hey, somebody broke into your house. Tony Accardo, there's the home right there in River Forest. Tony Accardo flew home immediately. You can imagine how upset he was to know that they broke into the house. So make a long story short, he reached out to Tony Spilotro and he asked him, who do you think broke into my house? Within a couple days, Tony Spilotro told him that John Mendel, one of the best burglars in the United States, him and his crew were the only ones capable of this. So make a long story short, Tony Accardo, through some of his guys, they went after every single burglar in that crew and other burglars in Chicago, and they basically killed each one of them and tortured them to send a message, not to rob a boss's house.
And they all got killed, man. A bunch of them, right?
Two guys I remember, they were lured to a bar restaurant that was closed. According to Nick Calabrese's testimony, Jimmy Marcello, Nick Calabrese, and a few other guys, they jumped them, they strangled them, they killed them. But interesting thing, the song Strangers in the Night from Frank Sinatra was playing on the jukebox when these poor guys were getting strangled. So that when they would refer to that murder, they would refer to it as Strangers in the Night.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty creepy, man.
That's Nick Calabrese there. He testified against his brother Frank. He was part of the Chinatown crew in Bridgeport. And Nick, I found Nick credible. Most of his testimony, there was a couple small lies I felt he told that, in my opinion, I would have questioned that as a jury. But he gave graphic details on 18 murders dating back to the 70s.
Yeah, like he was involved with a lot of stuff. We're gonna get into some of the things that he was involved with, some of the trial that he was involved with. But first, I want to talk about the Spilotro brothers. He was involved with that murder, and he had inside information about that murder. And I want to hear from you what the trial was like. What kind of information did you hear about the Spilotro brothers killing?
Okay, great question. The highlight of this trial, and there was several, but the highlight of the trial, 2 of the 18 murders were the murders of the Spilotro brothers. Everyone saw the movie Casino. Everyone has a pretty good idea what was going on in Vegas, how they upset some of the bosses. But a couple things came out in the family secret trial that nobody knew about. When Nick testified on the Spilotro murders, the original plan, they were going to kill these guys in Nevada, in Las Vegas. According to Nick, Jimmy Marcello gave Nick an Uzi and 2 hand grenades. He took a train from Chicago all the way to Nevada. Some of the other hit teams were Frankie Schweiss, John Fecarata, Joey Hansen, Paulie Shero, and maybe 1 or 2 other guys I'm forgetting. But the interesting thing is the hit team all took different routes to Nevada. So they didn't all fly or drive together. They all took different ways. Once they got there as a team, they really couldn't get a good tail on the brothers. They would tail Michael, but they couldn't get Tony. They would tail Tony, but they couldn't get Michael. So it was a little tricky to get both of them together. Now, prior to Joey Aiuppa going to prison, he said, according to Nick, I want them both knocked down. Quote, number 1 and number 2. I don't care how you do it, just do it.